is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Welcome, everybody, to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. This is the Embattled broadcast that explores the past while we remain in the present, and we dictate the terms of our future. It has been 2 weeks since I've been on the air. This is a show that I feel like I needed to do, but at the same time, it's very difficult for me to do this. We lost a dear friend, a brother, and a huge part of our community. And I'm going to say this to preface it. This might be a little bit of an emotional show. We're going to go into a clip of somebody by the name of Clarence Mitchell, who is the host of Closer Encounters. He was one of my mentors in doing these types of broadcasts. He was a tremendous, tremendous soul on this planet, and the world is a little bit darker over this week, and because he's not here with us. And while I wanted to do this show a few days after his passing or his transition, it's been 2 weeks because it's been very difficult for me to collect myself to come up here and really go about doing him justice for the life that he lived and for the experiences that he had that he shared with all of us. And while I wanted to do this for him, I was dreading doing this as well because it's it means that we are in the moment of saying goodbye to him, and that's hard, right? And again, I might get emotional, and I apologize for those who don't want to see that, but this man was a brother and a dear friend, and his mother is he lives on through his mother, and hopefully in every broadcast that we do, because of that fact that he paved the way for us. When I first met Clarence, it was probably about 5 years ago now. He had been broadcasting for about 10 years. And I'm going to put a picture up of Clarence really quickly so you can see who we're talking about. This is Clarence Mitchell, host of Closer Encounters. This show is in memory of him. And while we will be taking a substantial amount of time to talk about this, we're going to get to some other things on the other side. Some of the topics that I know that he would want to explore if he was here with us right now. Um, Clarence is connected to Omar as well. And Omar was the one that gave me the news the day after my birthday that he had passed on my birthday. And while it was a bit of a shock to hear, me and Clarence always had that special connection. And the day of my birthday, while spending time with my family, which is one of the first reasons why I wasn't streaming for about 5 or 6 days, I had some family in town. Something felt off about this birthday, and even with all the people here, something felt amiss. Not a great, not a, it was very subtle. It was very subtle for me. Something didn't feel right, and now I know what it was, and it was Clarence and his transition to the spirit realm, to heaven, to transition to a higher frequency, whatever you believe. And it's a very difficult thing because how this is sort of my origin story while going over this too. And again, I might be at a loss for words at times and things like that. There might be pauses or a break or two. And it's just for me to collect myself because I wouldn't be here without Clarence. Clarence was a person who was very giving, right? Giving in the way of information, giving in the way of opportunity, giving in the way of putting other people before himself. He was a great man and a father and a son and a brother. He showed me that it was okay to speak what I believed with confidence, with my whole chest, with my chest out, and to lack of a better term, to screw the naysayers. Who cares? Say what you're going to say, and people will either listen or they won't. And that's okay, either way. So I had been diving into history for a very long time. History sort of led me to ufology. Clarence was a contactee, he was an experiencer. We're going to go over a little bit of his experience when we play the video a little bit. And he was very involved in all things UFO, SETI, um, you know, everything and anything you could think of. And he was there around before the internet. So he actually bought the books, went to the library, did the real bookworm research, which was, it was a different time back then. So Clarence decided that he was going to use a few different methods to broadcast a show to bring his findings to light, but also his experience. And it was called Closer Encounters, this show. And there was a couple different variations of it. The latest one that I had the honor to be a part of, which I actually tried to look for it on YouTube, and maybe because of inactivity, it is no longer there, which was heartbreaking because his work is it's excellent. It's excellent. Just like Omar's work, should be there as well. It is not. Restrictions have taken Watchers Talk off of YouTube as well. So I'm the only one left to project this message and to keep his memory alive on the internet in that way, only because, of course, there's other methods and different places you can find Omar's and his stuff as well. But here on YouTube, I'm the last one to have his episodes still up, right? And while it's it's really terrible what they've done to take all of those episodes down, um, it's amazing for me to be that in that position to be able to do that still. And I'll be honest, after this, I was contemplating whether I should come on ever again, and it was a stab in the heart to say the least. So Clarence had a show called Closer Encounters. I was slowly but surely finding podcasts across the world talking about UFOs because I had been researching history, and a lot of that sent me to the ufology part of history. And I found Closer Encounters. I think it was an app called Podcast Addict, and there was Clarence, and he would talk, and I would listen, and there was probably about I don't know, there's about 50 shows on there. And I thought to myself, I I would love to speak to this person. He always says, call in if you want. And he had a number to call in on. And I said, I'm going to try and catch the next one live and I'm going to call in. So I did. And Clarence was generous enough to have me on the show for about an hour talking about everything under the sun UFO. And as that first show ended, he told me to call back anytime. And he said he could be found on Facebook. So, me being who I am, I found him on Facebook. I friend requested him and he answered. And, you know, we were friends from that point on. We started to converse a lot, a lot. And his next show rolled around and I was on that show as well. I was a call in guest. And that happened for about 5 or 6 shows. And after that, he says, "Hey, you want to come on and co-host a show with me?" And I was like, "Co-host? I don't even I was having a hard time speaking on the radio at that point or even on the podcast. Like, I don't even know what I'm gonna say as a co-host, right? And he assured me it was the same. It's just the same thing. We're just gonna have a conversation, except my name will be in the title, and I'll get credit for, the speaking that was done. And so I did it, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Every minute of it. And shortly thereafter, he said to me, he says, "Rob, I have a friend named Omar, and I want you to meet him. You guys would get along really great. I think that this is going to be a really big hit with all of you guys, and we'll do a three-person show where there's two co-hosts, myself, Clarence, and Omar." And I was like, "Yeah, cool." And the next episode was me, Clarence, and Omar, and that was the first time I ever met Omar. This was about 5 years ago, and we all hit it off. It was a really, really fun time. And I remember after that show talking to my girlfriend at the time, now wife, you know, I really had an amazing time with, these two guys on the internet, and we were having a great time, and we were talking about everything under the sun. And we did it again. We did another show on panspermia, which is where an asteroid comes from space with organic or inorganic matter, lands in on a planet, therefore polluting the perfect ecosystem and creating fish and frogs and amphibian life and eventually humans. And is this possibly where we came from? And it was a really great show, and I started to grow closer to Omar, and we really hit it off. The three of us were like an inseparable team for a while, and we started really getting into a lot of different shows, a lot of different topics. We had a really great time, and it was for probably about 2 years. We started to guest star in each other's shows. I had another friend by the name of Leo Leonard O'Neill, and he would come into the mix. So there was about four of us, and it was really great. And then Clarence wasn't around as much, and he was saying he was having some health issues, and we understood. And so me and Omar decided that we were going to keep carrying the torch and move forward, and Clarence would come around with some of the events that we did. And this is how me and Omar really began to hone who we were. And Clarence, of course, again, would come around every so often. And it was really great when he did. And we would talk to him. And I was talking to him about this show, actually. And I said, I think I'm going to do my own show. And I think I'm ready now, guest starring for 2 years on other people's shows. I think I'm ready to start my show and put my ideas out there, or put what I'm exploring out there for people. And he loved it. He loved the name Full Spectrum Universe. He loved the fact that I was doing it, and I gave him the credit. And he was actually the first UFO guest that I had in episode 4. And that's only because of you know he wasn't around as much. Otherwise, he would have been episode 1. That's for sure. And that's what I want to play for you guys today. And it's going to be a little hard for me to watch it. I was watching it earlier, but at the same time, to hear his voice again is just incredible. And I'm going to play the part where he talks about his story and his contact. And from there, we're going to go into a last segment about Clarence, and we're going to have another conversation on the other side. But this is the fourth episode, and it only has 57 views on my channel because at the time I was not known, and that's okay. This is an episode that I hold forever in my heart, and it is one of my absolute favorite episodes. Now, again, I'm going to apologize because this episode is my 4th episode ever, and it's a little, I want to say, a little raw, right? Like I'm not as seasoned as I am now, I guess is the best way to put it. But I'm going to load it up here and we're going to listen to Clarence talk for a little bit because his memory is going to be shared here. And I just love him to death. And his mother left me the best message. And I'm going to read it for you guys after. But let's get into it really quickly. First, let's set the quality up. I know that this is not usually the way it goes, but again, here is Clarence Mitchell and myself from a long time ago, about 3 years ago.
Kind of like that, except for the point. The thing was, is I was so scared because I couldn't move that I was trying to scream and I'm trying to rustle and I'm trying to holler, everything else. And that's about the time I was trying to call for mom and dad because I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like, I just can't get anything out of my mouth. It was just horrid,
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard this voice inside my head telling me, Clarence, you're okay. Calm down. You'll be fine, And just like that, a calming sensation came over me and my heart rate went down. I wasn't scared anymore. You know what I'm saying? Everything was really, really good. And I just happened to, I rolled over and I looked because it was a bunk bed. My brother's up on top. I'm on the bottom. And I rolled over and I looked and there's 3 grays, as we know today as the grays, in my bedroom, standing there. The light's on in my room. I don't know how the light got on, none of that stuff.
Right.
But there they were, and they told me, through my mind, not speaking, but, they're telling me things like, you're going to be fine. We got things that we want to give you, things to explain, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You're going to be safe, not to worry. And for whatever reason, I knew we were going to go through the bedroom window. Now, don't ask me why I knew this, because this is just something that, I just knew, right? Mm-hmm. And I told them, this is no lie, I had a glass showcase shelf that I got from a friend of mine that sat underneath that window, and I had a bunch of model cars and stuff on it, and it was kind of flimsy. And I warned him, I said, please don't break the shelf and don't wake up my brother or my dad will be pissed.
That's a fact. Please don't break the shelf. My dad's going to beat my ass. This is what
I come up with, right? This is what I told him. I said, please, whatever you do, don't, don't break the glass, don't hurt the shelving, Mm-hmm. I was more afraid of that happening than anything else. You know what I'm saying?
Then these people taking you through the window.
And that's it.
You're more worried about the glass shelf because of your father.
Exactly.
You didn't catch a whooping. I get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I get it.
The next thing that happened, Rob, I can't tell you where I went, who I was with, none of that stuff, because it's all oblivious to me. I wake up, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and there I am in bed.
Wow.
Lights off. I look up, my brother's sleeping, the sound is everything. I'm looking outside, out the window, trying to see, and that was it,
So you don't even know how long you were gone for.
I have no idea.
Could have been hours, days.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Omar actually asked is if when they spoke to you, was it in English, even though it was
perfect
mental?
English? Perfect English. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, if an intelligent life comes to you and they want to contact you or speak to you, 9 times out of 10, I would believe that they would have enough knowledge to, if they're that advanced, to speak to you in your own language. It wouldn't be some other language or something that you're not familiar with that you would have to basically go through and look into. I would think that they would do that because they're mostly supreme beings if they're going to be interstellar travel, abduction, and
Mm-hmm.
basically taking you and not ruining the glass shelving. To
Right.
get you through the window without ruining the glass shelving. They have some
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's going to be a little bit more advanced than most. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was crazy. But here's what I did. I said to myself, right, when this all happened and everything, and of course I was scared for probably a good week later. I couldn't sleep, because I was afraid they were going to come back. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Of course.
And I'm thinking, gee whiz, man, they're going to come back. They're going to take me again. I may not come back the next time. I don't know what to do. Da da da.
Plus, you're a
So,
child still too. So
well, exactly.
it's like
You're
a
12 years
nightmare.
old.
It's almost like a nightmare. You're having a nightmare and somebody coming out of the closet at you. You just
Right.
don't know.
Right.
It's up in the air.
Exactly. So I promised myself not to say anything to anybody.
Mhm.
I didn't want the ridicule. I didn't want people, whatever. So I kind of left it at that, and I finally got to the point where I wasn't afraid anymore, and life went on, right? Even though I never forgot about it, I never talked about it, if you know what I'm saying,
Right. Right.
And this went on until I was in my 20s and had gotten married after I had already graduated high school, went into the military, did 4 years, and
Mhm.
came back, had gotten married, had my firstborn, my secondborn, and whatever. So right around 1986, 87, which is probably 10, 12, 13 years later.
Right.
I happened to be sitting at home watching the kids. The wife was working the night shift, okay?
Mhm.
And this program come on like In Search Of, is one of those types of programs, right?
Right.
And gee whiz, this guy come on here and they were talking about alien abductions of all things. And I'm like, oh, wow, I got to check this out,
Mhm.
This guy told the same story exactly as what I just told you. It was so identical, Rob. You can't fake this. I mean, this was so, and I about passed out in the chair because I'm thinking, holy shit,
That's
it
crazy.
really did happen.
That feeling you get when you relate to somebody like that, and that connection, it almost like skips your heart for a beat and you start to sweat a little. You're like,
it was like reliving it all over again, listening to him. I mean, it was like,
well,
whoa, you got to be kidding me.
It validated everything that you had gone through.
Exactly.
And that's
exactly
the biggest
right.
thing. The validation at that point is, in a way, it's gratifying, but in a way, it's also scary. Because
it is
now
scary.
you know that this moment was actually a moment and not just a dream. And it messes with your perception of reality at that moment.
I'll tell you this. The first thing that went through my mind when I heard him talking about it and the things that he said is, there's no possible way this guy could have known that this happened to me. You know what I'm saying? Not this way. There's no way anybody could duplicate my experience. This has to be real.
Right.
There's no if ands about it. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing that is going to prove me different on that. I mean, that's it. That's my proof,
Well, of course. And everybody has their own truth, whether people believe it or not. There is always your own personal truth. I believe it is truth, especially if you can actually validate it with somebody else's experience. There's no such thing as coincidence. Things happen for a reason. So if somebody's having the same exact experience as you are, what that means to me is that it falls in line with both people coinciding their experiences, because it's not just a coincidence that you both had the same exact experience down to detail. It's somebody doing it like that.
Exactly.
That's what that means. It is proof. Now, a question I have for you is, now going through the rest of your life, how did this whole experience, I know some people it has very lasting effects. How did this affect your entire life up till now and this point that we're speaking? I mean, was there, I'm trying to explain it in a way, but was there some kind of like Did it have like where you would stay away from people, or I know you were scared to tell the story, but
Right.
physically and mentally, did it have an effect on your life throughout the entire life so far?
Yeah, it did. A few things actually. Well, okay, let me tell you what happened as I was growing up. After the experience, from the time that I had the experience until the time of my confirmation, I had weird things happen to me, throughout life.
Right,
Okay, I had certain things that I was gifted with, mechanically, artistry, different things like that, animal magnetism, things that you just don't understand. How do I know these things? What is it that that I'm grasping here that no one's teaching me? You know what I'm
right.
saying? But I automatically know. It just crazy things like that. And when the confirmation happened, it all clicked. It was like, now I get it. Okay, these were the gifts they were talking about. This is what they gave me. This is, I mean, it was like opening up. Um, I'm not really sure how you say it. It was like a big relief. It was like,
Right.
okay, now I understand,
It opened up a
So,
window to understanding of what they were talking about for you. That is just a clip, and one of the things that Clarence loved to do was debunking certain people, and he was very much against a lot of the mainstream narrative, much like we are now. This is also he was further along in his spiritual journey than I was in that interview, and this was in the inceptions of my spiritual journey. So it, he was leading the way for a lot of not just the UFO being a significant event. He was teaching me how to see it from a spiritual vantage point as well, and he was amazing. And this is really tough, and the synchronicities between me and him, and the things that have happened to me now after knowing him. Um, in that interview, he also talks about a sighting that he had, much like the one I've had, and it's just been an an absolute honor to be a part of what was left of his time in the third dimensional, while he was here with us in this 3D reality, and being able to call him friend and brother. And while he might not be here in the physical, he is with all of us in the spirit. And I know that every show that I do will be he has had a major influence in it. And I uh I really just wanted to do all to help me say goodbye to a dear friend. And it's tough. Yeah. Sorry. And this is in honor of him, and I want to pay homage to him and the things that he has done for me. And his mother sent me a message, and I sent her this show, and she was very happy that I was going to do this show. And I said to her that I'm sorry for her loss, and that I love Clarence like a brother, and that Omar had just told me what was going on, and that I was praying for them. And that the day before was my birthday, April 12th, and that me and him were connected, and that he is with all of us. And she said to me, "Thank you, Rob. Clarence was so proud of you and your work, and I'm sure he's looking down on you, and please stay in touch." And Mrs. Mitchell, thank you. Thank you for all everything. And I it, it's hard. It's hard. And this is what I believe to be a transition, and he is not suffering from the ailments that he had while here in the 3D. And it's going to be a huge loss for our community. And I just wanted to say thank you to him because I know he's watching now, and I know he will be watching. And yeah, this is me being upfront, honest, and showing everybody that these people come through your life, and we have to hold on to them with everything we have because they show us the way forward. And the way forward for us as a community is going to live on in all of our works, whether we're doing shows like this or making posts on social media or just talking to others and giving them information. Our work lives on, and there's still a lot of work to be done. So while I wasn't sure if I could ever really get up here and do this again, um, I decided that I'm going to do it and that we're going to keep moving forward because that's what he would have wanted, and that's what I want. And there's still a lot of work to be done, and we have to do it because if not us, then who's going to do it? And he passed the torch to us to carry on his legacy, and that's an honor. That's an honor in itself. So, as we tip our caps to and raise a glass for Clarence, we'll see you when we see you, and hopefully it's not too soon. But I hope that I still see you at night. We can come to me in my dreams and let me know what you thought of this, and anything you want to say. And just we love you, Clarence. We love you, and it was a sad day when you left. That's for sure. I apologize. I'm getting all emotional, and it's just hard. This guy was. I looked up to him in many ways, and it was very difficult to hear that news. And I know I keep saying that because it's still very raw, very real. Man, and I pray for him and his family. And I know Omar took it just as hard as I did. That's for sure. He was even closer with Clarence than I was, and it's pretty crazy. But I do still have the headphones that you saw in that video right here. I don't wear them because you get the dent in your head from it. Also, if you haven't purchased it yet, get your copy of The Invasion of Eden, written by Paul Wallace, another great mentor that deserves the praise for this epic tome that is going to resoundingly shine lights on a lot of the ancient but most contemporary topics of ufology that we need to be discussing today. So if you haven't gotten your copy, go back to the Paul Wallace episode, click on the link, and go get it. It's not only worth it, it's almost necessity. It's almost necessity. The way Paul breaks it down is incredible. And I've had an amazing few days diving into that book. And when after Paul is done doing some more press and gets a moment, we're going to be doing an event that's going to be a disclosure event. It's going to be free here on YouTube with Paul Wallace as the keynote speaker, of course. And we're also going to have a one-on-one conversation with myself and Paul, and we're going to really, dive into a little bit deeper into the book. Before it's released, we can't really get too far into the details, but now, once we've let it get out for a little while, we can jump into a little bit more of what it is. And there's a lot of really great things happening in the next few months. I'm just going to put it that way because I've been working on things behind the scenes that even before this, when I wasn't sure if I was going to even come back, there were still certain things that I felt like I needed to do, and we've been working on them. One of those things is a website. We're going to actually get a website up soon. I know I've been saying it for probably 2 years now, and it's been kind of eluding me only to the fact that I wanted to make the website a little bit different. But we're at least gonna have a landing page and, a place where we can all communicate and really share this information. That's another reason why we have the Telegram group, right? The Telegram group is for the sharing of other people's episodes and info that's pertinent to what we're talking about now. Ufology, supernatural, paranormal, spiritual awakening, ancient history. We dive into all of that. I'm also going to be really pushing a Discord server where we can do that as well. Um, we're going to actually be on a show on Twitter on April 30th with my second guest ever, who was Melissa Dawn, and we're going to be talking about conspiracies, which is going to be a lot of fun because if you know me, I have to go to other places to talk about those conspiracies because here they won't allow me to speak of all the details. If it'll get taken down, probably I could probably say 2 words right now that would take this whole stream down. So I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to do it. But the, ufology has come so far in the last year. And that's another reason why I loved doing ufology shows was because I knew Clarence would be listening. And he told me a few times that he, even though he wasn't around much, that he was always watching. And that's why once in a while we would say we miss him and we love him and we hope to see him soon. And but he was very ill at the end, and the release from that illness brings me joy that he's not suffering in that way anymore. Also, you know, we're gonna keep this thing trucking along. We're gonna start talking about some of the topics that we've jumped into before, but we're gonna go deeper. One of the things that I've been enamored with is Thoth, and who Thoth was. I've been listening to a little bit of Billy Carson and listening to who he thought Thoth was and some of the things that he has going on. And I'm going to actually try and get him on the show if I can. I think he would be a great guest, much like Paul Wallace. We're going to start bringing more guests on. I know I have Soul Rita, Bridget Holiday wants to come on, and we're going to have those people on. We're going to have a lot of fun. We need to really bring some joy in this moment where it seems it's so dark. And whether we want to believe it or not, that darkness is affecting us, all of us. So we need to find a place where we can dive into these spiritual topics, these ancient history topics, and have a good time with it. And I'm going to dedicate myself to creating those good times and making sure that we're headed down a path full of laughs, smiles, and really pertinent information. Because not only that's what I want to do, but that's what me and Clarence used to do. If you watch that episode, you'll see that towards the last 20 minutes, it's basically us just laughing with each other and finding joy in the fact that these topics sometimes get murky, but we're really able to dive in and give it 100% and have a good time with it. And I think that sometimes when we go through this such serious information, we lose that a little bit. And I think that this is a good moment to stop, take a breath, and evaluate in which the angles that we're going to be delivering. And I plan on delivering for a long time because it's who I am. It's what I want to do. And I made that decision 3.5 years ago. And Clarence told me to. He said, you should. And I agree. So we're going to keep this boat going down this fast flowing river. Um, there's more to come, right? And there's some things in the pipeline that it's going to probably shock you, maybe blow your mind a little bit, and expand your reality. I want to get into animal communication as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. We did a couple of shows on that. Um, we did Atlantis and Lemuria and Mew, and I've seen some different revelations on what they might have been, and it's intriguing. And when I get the information down, I'll bring it back to you guys and show you what I found. I have a lot of books on their way incoming. I had a $100 Amazon gift card that I'm going to be spending vigorously on new information. That's for sure. I got that for my birthday, or maybe it was no. Actually, that was for Christmas, I believe. Yeah, I've had it for a little while, saving for this moment. I was actually waiting for Paul's book to come out to use it because I wanted to purchase it right away, and I'm going to. I did, and so there's a lot happening, and I know this is sort of a sad episode, but sometimes we have to let the emotions out because when they fester inside, and I cried here on the episode, and that's probably the second time that I've cried over this, and I haven't had a space or place to really, you know, stop and really take a minute and do that. Being at work all the time, trying to put things together, and being here for my family, and doing whatever I can to stay afloat because it's getting tough out there, right? And that's another thing too is, it's getting rough out there for a lot of people economically. And I understand that, right? And this can bring on a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. There are ways we can fix this. And maybe I'll talk about it on Rumble because here is not the place. But Billy Carson said something that was just it caught me off guard, but he's absolutely right in ways to fix society right now. And it takes coordination, right? And it's not violent, it's not protest, it's not extreme. It just takes coordination. Is the best way to say it. And I think we need to open up these avenues and maybe start looking at things through some different lenses to fully understand each other better. And when we do that, we start to come into tune with each other. And when we become in tune with each other, we become a resounding wave of whether it's love, anguish, anxiety. We get a group feeling while still keeping our individual aspects of ourselves. But this is why community is important. And this is why dedicating ourselves to having a good time is important. And I think that's what we have to do today is stop, smell the roses, forget about everything that's going on outside, and look at what's going on inside. Look at how far you've come on your journey. Look at how much you've been able to open yourself up to the universe and how much the universe has opened itself up to you. We're here in this moment for a reason. To let ourselves or our guard down now would be a shame. And there is history that they don't want us to know that is being completely wiped out because it's going to tell you who you are, what you are, and why you're here. Now, personally, I know those things because I've meditated deep on it and I've gone into almost trance like states pulling that information out. We all have a mission. It's time to set that mission forward and make it a prevalent part of what you do every day to fulfill your mission so that we can shatter the soul matrix that is trapping us within these incarnation cycles. And I know that Clarence did that. I know that he is in a better place in the sixth and seventh dimensional density, looking down at us and guiding us into this new era of what it means to be human and what humanity's potential is. So there is a lot left for us to figure out. There's a lot left for us to explore. There's a lot left for us to discover. And I hope we do it together because together, it's just more fun together, right? It's a lot more fun. But also together, we understand more. Multiple perspectives gives or brings robust understanding. And we need to do that. We need to set that straight. We need to be the prodigal sons and daughters that the light side entities foresaw in the futures of humanity. It's our destiny. And I accept it wholeheartedly. And I hope you do too. So, with all that being said, I appreciate y'all coming here and I appreciate y'all listening. And please say a prayer for Clarence's family and for Clarence himself. I know he'll hear you, and I know he's going to hear me too. And I want to tell him one last time, Clarence, my brother, I love you. We miss you, and hopefully we will see you when we see you, not too soon, because there's still a lot for us to do. But I'm just praying you're at peace, and I pray everybody here listening is at peace. So, with all that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This has been dedicated to Clarence Mitchell, the host of Closer Encounters. This is Full Spectrum Universe. And the next time you see us or see me, we're going to be happy. We're going to have a good time. And we're going to really dive into the info. And I look forward to that. I'll see y'all next time.